Cool. All right, so happy Sunday. I'm really excited to host our first monthly growth game plan. This is going to be like I mentioned, a monthly setup where we get to talk a little bit about growth, everything from health, mindset, recovery, nutrition, and all the things that have been holding you back in the past, and how can we move forward in the future. So again, this is going to be an interactive call where we will get to chat, connect, deep dive into some things, whatever you choose to. But I'm really excited to share the presentation today. But first of all, I want y'all to make sure that we're in a comfy place to either be present, write out what you're doing, or if you are busy doing what you got to do, this will be recorded so that you can look back at this at a future time. And if you got a chance to see, there is a workbook in the email. So there is a PDF there that you can go ahead and click on and work through all of that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to start. I do want this to be interactive, so I believe I will mostly be able to see myself. But when you guys share, just make sure you unmute yourself, etc., and we can go from there. Okay, so let me go ahead and screen share, start broadcast. I feel like I haven't made a PDF since college. A PowerPoint since college, which is a lie now that I think about it. But it feels like it. Present. Okay, cool. Can y'all see this? Oh, fail. I clicked out of it. Give me 1 second. And then how can I move y'all down? No, I'm trying to move this person down. Let me see. Can you guys see everything I'm doing? That's really funny. Okay, cool. How about that? I guess someone unmute yourself just to let me know if you can see it, because I can't see y'all. That's the bad part.
We're good.
Okay,
yes,
yay.
I can.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So I did want it to show me in this corner, and I need to figure out how to do that. And I don't know how. So
you're in the corner. You're in the top corner.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yay. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So like I mentioned, get yourself in a comfy place and space to allow yourself to be present. We're going to deep dive into a couple of things. When I say deep dive, sometimes that makes people nervous. Might not be the case. It might just be things that you already work on, and that's even better. So number one, I do want us to start with, and this is something that I have already texted everybody since y'all are all active clients, but how do you want to feel, look, and act at the end of this quarter? So I know that we are currently in January, starting the beginning of the year, beginning of the month, but I think it's important to plan 3 months ahead of time and kind of go backwards. How do we want to feel? How do we want to look? How do we want to act at the end? And this is where it does get to be interactive. I did put little pencil icons there. So if you did print out the workbook, you can write that out. I also like to write things in my own journal just to keep everything in one place as well. So whatever works for you. But I do want us to take about 5 minutes, whether it's to write it out or to share or whatever that looks like for you. How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? And how do you want to act by the end of this quarter? So by the end of March. Okay, so obviously we're starting just the beginning of January. I think it's always great to look at our goal setting in 3-month chunks, because sometimes we feel that, oh, everything should be perfect right off the bat, or I should start really strong. But I actually really want y'all to start small and build up so that we can get to this feel, look, and act by the end of this quarter. So quick little reminders: you're not going to write what you don't want to attract, what you don't want to be, because then that's what we're going to go ahead and create. So we want to be very intentional with our language, with our words, and how we write here, and how it's all the, it doesn't have to necessarily be positive, but I assume it is, but all the things you do want. Okay, so I will allow y'all to write for a little bit. If anyone wants to share, please unmute and share, whatever that looks like. I know some of you are kind of moving through things, so I know that maybe writing isn't what's going to happen right now, and that's totally okay. Some questions I wrote out was something that you can write is, what does your ideal day look like? How do you want to feel in your clothes? How do you want to look at photos from your vacations? How do you want to act when you see your family? or when you revisit with old friends. These might be just some scenarios that might help you. Sometimes we're kind of like, I don't really know. So hopefully that's helpful. Ooh, I think the hardest part on my end is not being able to see y'all, but it's cool. So I'm gonna share a little bit of mine. Once I'm done with mine, I'm not gonna pick on people because I can't see y'all, but I'll allow you guys to share if you want to. You can keep it as generic or as specific as you'd like. But how would I like to feel, act, and be by the end of the quarter? So end of the quarter is the end is my birthday month. So I'm really excited. I will be turning 32. So I really want to, and I feel like with a lot of everyone's check-ins, I want to feel strong, and I love that, and I am right there with y'all. So I did put it right there. Obviously, I want to feel strong. Like for me, that is to be able to. I would love to be able to deadlift 250, or even just increase my deadlift. So these are all tangible things, right? Things that I can kind of go back to. I would love to get my 10 pull-ups. I'm currently at 8, so I'm really excited about that. How would I like to look? I would love to look lean. I am getting my abdomen area in a place where I'm very pumped about. So I want to look lean. I want to see definition in my abs, really, because the other definition is coming in nicely. My triceps, that'd be cool. I would love to act and feel like very confident in just all areas. And I think that confidence is something that we can feel in certain areas and not in others. So I think something I can word it is maybe self-image. Like self-image is something that how you see yourself, regardless of whatever situation or wherever you're put in. I think that's I just want to walk into a room and be confident regardless of whether it's a gym, which I obviously know I'm confident there, or it's a business meeting where I'm a speaker, or something like this where it's my first time recording myself with my clients here. And then last but not least, I want to be present. I know as a business owner, and I feel like business owners and parents or anybody that's just a busy individual in general, I feel like it can be easy for our mind to be a constant running to-do list. And I just want to be present. I want to enjoy whether the food that I'm eating, I want to enjoy the family that I'm with, I want to enjoy the scenery, I want to enjoy the deep breaths, I want to enjoy all the little things. So that's mine. If anyone would like to share, you can feel free to unmute yourself and you can tell me a little bit of what you want to feel, look, and act like by the end of this quarter.
I know for me, I would just like to feel more grounded. I think something we've been working on in the last year, especially, is like, how do you stay committed and focused, even when like life is throwing you some curveballs, and then like being realistic about what my capacity is given like whatever's going on for me at that time. So it's like, okay, like maybe every week doesn't look like me throwing around heavy weight all 3 sessions. Maybe it's like Kristen really could use some like additional mobility today, or maybe it's you being like, okay, Kristen, we're gonna do 25-pound dumbbells for this particular set instead of 35s because we like don't want you overdoing it when you haven't had like an appropriate amount of rest. So I think it's just like being honest with myself about my capacity.
Right.
I think in terms of friends, one of my big things is like, not sorry, you're hearing me scoop my dog's food. One of the things is trying to be sure that not every single activity is like centered around drinking. And it's like, I definitely am someone that enjoys drinking. I'm a wine club girl. But I also do plenty of activities that like don't have to be centered around drinking. So I think it's almost like setting up the appropriate expectation with some of my friends around like, maybe we're doing like a movie night and it doesn't have to include 4 bottles of wine for 3 people. Like, and also having people understand that like no is a full sentence, including like my family. Like, I know the holidays sometimes can be tricky because like people are like forcing food down your throat, or like I definitely got asked multiple times on Christmas like why I wasn't having more to drink, because like maybe at this time last year they were used to me consuming more alcohol or more sugary beverages. And it's not that I didn't drink, but even the reduction was like a point of conversation.
Right.
And so I think just like remaining true to like the goals that I've set, and finding like healthier ways to engage. So like maybe it's like instead of doing like a bunch of sugary drinks with vodka, maybe it's like cutting the number in half and doing like club soda or like a sparkling water that's like
Mm-hmm.
flavored but like no sugar and no calorie. Um, and so that's been pretty important. And then I think I want to look like leaner. I like can tell the difference and even how my face looks on a week where I've been like drinking more versus not, or a week where I've been getting like appropriate recovery. Even if like the day or the days weren't perfect in terms of what I consumed, I will like be like, oh, look at how good I looked when I was giving 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, and like also how much better I felt. So trying to pay attention to that as well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You like are tapping into so many of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm really excited that you're obviously ahead of the game, which is no surprise. Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share?
I'll go. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a lot going on this year, this quarter. So I want to be less stressed. I want to be able to deal with everything without freaking out. I want to be more honest when it comes to my relationships, because when there's confrontation, I tend to turn inwards and not speak my truth and not be honest with the person. It's just hard for me, but I am working on it and I want to do more of that.
Awesome.
And I got Trans World coming up, and I always buy myself a really cool outfit, and I definitely want to look good in
Oh, fun.
that. So definitely on nutrition more. I know things are hectic for me right now, so just I want to bring myself back to a place of more normality and more schedule stuff, which will be hard at first, but I know I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely by the quarter, like you said, you have a busy quarter going on, but with time, these are all things that can get better. And hopefully when we look back, you're like, oh, this is great. Like I can check these things off. I can feel closer to this and it can feel like more of your truth, etc. So that's awesome. Yay, I'm excited. Thank you. I know we have Angie on here, and after that, I really don't know who else is on here. So, if Angie, if you'd like to share, let me go ahead and.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share. So for me, this year is like completely a new chapter, like independence. So I want to embrace that completely new chapter. I did agree, like I did put the number one was feel strong.
Yeah.
But I think for me in the last, it's kind of changed because obviously, my knee hurt, then I hurt my shoulder. So I want to be strong, but I also, for me, I think I want to, like, if it doesn't feel right, like it's okay to go back and wait to get stronger.
Yes.
I think I was focused on like, no, you did 40, keep going 40, even if it's not comfortable this week. So for me, feel strong, I think also includes taking a step back sometimes. I obviously have new kitchen, and so it's being organized. So it's to remain organized and keep it clean, in all aspects.
Yeah.
And then I did put be smaller, and I was talking aesthetically. And then I actually like the word leaner better, so I crossed it out and put leaner. And I'm trying not to focus on scale, but actually just the way I feel in clothes. And the one thing that I did, I just came back, and I took a lot of pictures, and I'm going to just say the honest truth. I didn't hate all of them. So that was a win for me. I may have liked only 3 or, 4, but I didn't hate all of them. So that was a win for me.
Yes, that is such a win. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. These are also fun to hear. Angie, can you see if there's anyone else on here? I can't see on this end because if I click out, it clicks me out of everything.
Monica's on here.
Monica, would you like to share? We're gonna go popcorn. I'm just kidding. And I'm like in the mystery of I don't even know which Monica, so I'm gonna see once I hear your voice.
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
Emmy
we
Van.
can. You're okay, girl. Don't worry.
Good. Sorry, I'm like multitasking with the kids. So I think my only thing which I talked to you on like last Tuesday, what I want as far as like, goals for the quarter, I think it's just to feel stronger. And I think I just kind of touched on that with you. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on nutrition, which is surprising because usually I'm like all about the snacks and eating all the kids' leftover food. But the logging is helping. The macros that you gave is really helping. So I think that's pretty much, under control. I am enjoying the fun foods as well.
Yeah.
So I think now, with the 13.5 pounds down, I think I just want to feel and look stronger, which
Awesome.
I really got to work on because it's crazy with the new job and kids to get these workouts in for some reason.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my only goal right now.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So the more focused and more detailed that goal, the more we can work on it. And like you said, you already got the nutrition down, so that's really exciting. The rest is just going to be fine tuning the rest. And that's kind of the word I've been using for y'all. But okay, thank you for sharing. We're going to go ahead and move on from here. So that's all the fun part. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and not that the rest isn't fun, but I think this is just really honest and how we get to work on things. How will you choose to handle the obstacles? So I want you to take a moment to think over the past 3 to 12 months, which obstacles have been reoccurring? Has it been the family outings where people are asking about why aren't we drinking and we choose to drink more? Has it been the situations at home that cause us to be a little bit less focused on our goals? Is it the job? What is it? Is it the internal self-talk? What can we do? And on that worksheet I want you to choose 3 main reoccurring obstacles that are happening. And I want us to write out 3 recovery plans for those. And when I say recovery plan, I mean that we can either focus on how we're going to move things around in our day, so how we can still fully follow through. 2, how we're going to modify the follow through, how we're going to modify that goal. So modifying the goal can look like a handful of different things. Okay. And it doesn't get rated A+ to F on if you modify it great or you modify it like minimally. No, don't judge it. So modifying the goal can look like doing half the workout. Modify the goal can look like going for a walk instead, doing the mobility instead, right? Or setting yourself up for success tomorrow. Let's say today you're just like, it's not happening today. I need a break. I need a nap. I need to recenter myself. I need to ground myself. How can I set myself up for success tomorrow? This is still another way that you can modify the goal. Is it time blocking for tomorrow? Is it setting out or all these things? Time blocking, setting out your clothes, having an accountability buddy. Even if you're like, hey, Angel, I didn't get today's workout in. It's been a day. But tomorrow, my game plan is to get in that workout at 8 a.m. I already have my alarm set. My clothes are out. And I'm eating enough tonight so that I can feel good tomorrow. Does that make sense? How we can still modify the goal? And then there's going to be times where life is just hitting, our capacity is here and our load is here. And we're just like in over our heads. And that's going to happen. Life is going to happen. And this is where we get to just choose compassionate self-talk, choose that, hey, I didn't get it in, and that is okay, right? Compassionate self-talk and a mandatory game plan for how you can succeed next time, okay? And just thinking that through. So those are all the different options. Obviously, 1 is still figuring out how you can make it happen, right? 2, modifying that goal or that habit for the day. And then 3 is just like, be okay that we didn't make it happen and how can we set ourselves up for success. So whoever wants to share, what are some of your reoccurring obstacles? Obviously, I'm saying choose 3 that you want a recovery plan for. When I say recovery plan, choose that thing. And then next time this happens, instead of whatever that is, for me, normally before when I would get really stressed, I'd be like, I'm just going to sleep away this bad mood, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, not really, And then, so for me now it's like, okay, cool. I can journal, I can breathe through it, I can go for a walk. Okay, from there in that walk, maybe I can ask myself, okay, am I in a place to still do the full workout? Do I need to modify the workout? Do I need to just do some mobility? And I can kind of choose from there. But the sooner we write that out for ourselves, once we hit that place of being in that obstacle again, you're going to remember this as best as possible. Mind you, your brain might be in like a stress mindset mode where you're thinking of how mad you are at this person or how frustrating the situation was or all the negative self-talk, whatever it is. But the more we mentally plan it, hopefully we can come back to this recovery plan that you've written out. And maybe if you need it in a place where you can see it, awesome. You need to take a picture of it so it's a reminder, whatever that looks like for you, figure that out. Hopefully you can use this. This isn't gonna guarantee success, but maybe you will get that much closer than you were 3 months ago, last year, etc. And then we can look back and think, wow, like I've handled this situation way better than I did last time. And that is going to be a win. We get to celebrate those things. So I'll leave that at that. Does anyone want to share a obstacle and what is their recovery plan for that? I know this one's a little bit more uncomfortable, potentially.
I think
Yeah, I can share real quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go first. You go first.
I'll be real quick.
No,
I
take
think
your
for
time.
me, since I was complaining about not getting my workouts or saying how it's difficult because it's life, etc., I think what I've been doing is kind of what I'm going to continue is
Cool.
if I didn't get a workout in, at least get some steps in. That's kind of like my trade-off. Like, well, if I'm not going to work out today, then, you know, I'll go with the kids to the mall and we'll walk around for a little bit or just trying to get steps. That's kind of like my plan. You know, if I'm not getting in a workout, I'm going to move at least a little bit today. So that's kind of like what I've been doing.
Yeah, we will take that for sure. Definitely. Because the opposite of that can definitely be a like, oh, I didn't get a workout and it can go into a negative spiral, but you're choosing, like you mentioned, to modify that habit, and that is still a win. So I love it. I think that's great. And I think you should definitely continue that. So thank you. I know Kristen, you guys were.
Oh yeah. I think I know that I'm pretty good about hitting 3 days with you, but I think what's a true struggle is like if it's not scheduled with you, then sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like this past year, both like work and family were like the biggest obstacles for that. But also it's like, well, I feel like I show up as my best work self and family self if I am carving out time outside of the 3 days that I'm with you. So I think it's going to be like similar to how I schedule with you in the mornings 3 days a week. On the days I'm not with you, also scheduling things in the morning. I'm not a morning person.
Right.
Because there's no guarantee that I can get it in like the afternoons or the evening. And so it's like, okay, well then I need to be intentional about at least 2 additional days in the morning and treating it the same way that I do a session I paid for.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that we'll talk a little bit about this on this next slide, but like thinking of the accountability buddies. And I know that you're great with like setting up calls with people and you've been like, hey, I'm going to be setting up a call with you while I walk on the treadmill or whatever, you know, something to get that added something. But I love it. I think that's a great way to just literally just schedule it in your calendar already.
Totally.
Yay. Now we have Michelle and Angie as well, if you guys want to share yours.
Yeah, sure. Well, mine's always been nutrition. I always have issues with that. So typically, like if I had a bad day where I just ate really bad, the best thing for me to do is to meal plan the next day.
Okay, good.
That usually keeps me accountable. Also logging food helps a lot. But those are things I tend to not do. So when I don't do them, that's usually when I slip up. So I just need to plan ahead, and that always helps out.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely talk a little bit later about how we can create systems and routines and how whether we need a lot something in your calendar, reminder, whatever that is, to know that, hey, Sunday at this time, I'm going to meal plan, or I'm going to sit down and write down all my things, or I'm going to do the grocery shopping, whatever that is. So awesome. Thank you. That's good. And Angie, you want to share yours?
I'm also obviously nutrition and meal planning. For me, I don't like the prepared meals just don't work for me. I realized like for my own. So I think
Mhm.
what I have done, even in this couple days that I'm home, is like I've made sure to have food that I can just make real quick, or
Cool.
that they're not necessarily, I don't want to say pretty, but they're just like store-bought salad and adding the chicken, like not I don't need to make it that hard for myself,
Okay.
or like so that for me, and the one thing that I did notice, and I've been kind of on myself, is and I'll mix it with the meal planning, if you sleep I scroll, like social media. And while I was gone, I was hardly on social media. Like it was really cool for me to see that how much of time I use on social media just to scroll, not even for
Yeah.
like social reasons. So I think I want to just focus on like maybe not doing that so much.
Nice.
More like TikTok and stuff where you can just get lost in hours.
Yeah, for sure.
So if I can scroll, I can, create my next meal. Maybe not
I love
meal
it.
plan, but my next meal.
Perfect. Yeah, no. I think that's great. I think that's great. Yeah, definitely. The word that I've learned for that is called either buffering or whatever that is. So yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Angie, you're gonna be my update. Has anyone else joined, or is it just us four so far? Because if so, they're gonna get called on. I'm
Just
just
us.
kidding. Okay,
Just us.
cool. Thank you. All right, next one, we are going to go over your environment. And I think this is really important. And I've obviously, you guys are all clients, so we've all talked about this, but I think our environment is super important to understand, like when our environment is working for us and when it is not. And there's going to be things that are controllables, like who we can choose to be our support system, who can be our potential accountability buddies, and what are just completely non-controllables, and not to waste our energy, our time, and entertain thoughts on how we wish these non-controllables were different, because that is just going to take us down a rabbit hole that is just going to be frustrating. Been there, done that. So first thing I want you ladies to write is, who is your support system, and list the people. Maybe it's a long list, maybe it's a short list, doesn't matter. I want you to literally write them out. I think that's going to be important. And then out of those people, who can be your accountability buddy, and maybe or if they're not your accountability buddy, who can we find, whether with our grit and gratitude community, that you feel that, okay, I'm hearing this person's same stories, I think we can both help each other with the 10 a.m. workout and the meal planning at the same time, or whatever that is, or the making sure we get our cardio or our steps in, whatever that looks like, even if it's a social media check-in or posting on your story or something. So I think for our support system, I know, and I'll get to that actually. Let's go to our non-controllables. Okay. So for this, I wrote specifically, non-controllables can be the spouse that isn't on their health and fitness journey, can be the family that wants us to do and act differently because they are not used to this new growing person of you. It can be the sicknesses, the diseases that come into play. It can be the change in schedule that we are not in control of. It can be the weather, whatever that is. Those are all things that if we sit and we complain about those for hours on hours, that is just taking up time. Just like Angie had mentioned, like instead of scrolling or instead of talking about all the non-controllables, what can we control, right? And just kind of taking a step back and taking a breath and being like, okay, today has been crazy, but what can I control, right? How can I still do my habits? How can I modify it? How can I still show up for myself so I can still at least feel like that I had control over somewhat of my day, right? So what are some things that come up for y'all here? I didn't necessarily have anything specific for y'all to share here, other than maybe if you wanted to jot down 3 things that you know for sure that you can control. And maybe that these are things that we thought like, oh, I can't control them before, but you're like, you know what, if I'm being honest with myself about ownership and about choices and about what I get to do, I can't control certain things. So what does that look like? I have Angie on my screen, so I don't know if you unmuted yourself. Is that accurate? You're like, no. Awesome. So let me know if anyone wants to share what that looks like, or just make sure that you write out your support system, what are those controllables, and what are those non-controllables that it just is what it is. I think Brittany's on. Cool. I'll go ahead and skip to the next slide. And this part, so I asked y'all maybe about
Hey,
2 months ago. Oh, go ahead. I heard someone.
Okay, I think for me, the controllables are definitely like what I'm putting into my body.
Ooh, good.
I think it's like I can control what my hydration level is, even if it
Yeah.
requires intentionality. Like, now I just have like a case of water in my car, like
Yeah.
carry a bag big enough to fit a bottle that isn't overwhelmingly huge. Like I added a mini fridge to one of my offices, and that's always stocked with like waters and sparkling waters now. So like intake for that, and then having like healthy snacks accessible in my office, so I'm not going like 7 or 8 hours without eating the way that I used to sometimes. And then maybe making like a poor decision as like a result. And then I think I can control like who I'm spending my time with outside of a work setting, even if it doesn't please the other people. And so sometimes that means like reducing time with a difficult family member, or maybe it's like not being as accessible to a friend that's also using you as their therapist. And just like being a bit better at boundary setting that way. It's like, of course, like if you're like a parent, you can't be like, well, I'm just not going to see my kid that's being difficult. But like for other types of relationships, I think we have more control than we think. It's just like a bit more difficult to implement initially.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think that's huge. So I love that. Thank you. But yeah, I think the one that you mentioned the most that hit me was controlling who you spend your time with, because we get to, whether you think energy or whatever, we get to be so mindful around the people we're around. If these are people that you're sharing your goals with and you're like, oh, you're not going to do that, you tried this for years, or you've been on your journey for years, like maybe we don't need to be around that person as much, or maybe we're more mindful of the conversations, or or we don't need to set up time to go eat with people. Maybe it could be a time to go for a walk and catch up, right? Different things. So I love that. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go on to the next one if no one else is gonna share on this one. And this is for your strength. So like I mentioned, I brought this up a couple months back, and I felt like, or actually I want to even share that, but let's go over this. So what are your strengths that have allowed you to get this far in your journey? So initially when I brought up this conversation in person, for some people, we had a hard time to think of our strengths. And for some people, we just like went on and listed a ton, which is great. Either or is fine. I'm just really excited for us to get more comfy with talking about our strengths and how we truly do have tons of strengths to have gotten this far. And whether you want to think just in this last year, or you want to think back to the first day you've ever started training or working out, and not even with me, just in general, I want you to think of those strengths. So whether that is the time management or showing up for your 5 or 6 a.m. sessions, even if you didn't feel like it, which I think is important because we are not always going to feel like it. Being able to rebound post injury and not just completely fall off and use it as an excuse to quit, to be resourceful with what you have, and to be kind of forward thinking or growth mindset about your journey. What does that look like for you? So if someone would love to share some of your strengths, I do want to hear this one. So, or even learning to ask for help, or learning how to listen to your body when you're feeling something, or even if these aren't strengths that you have yet, what are some strengths you would like to gain in this quarter or this year in general? Because some things are just going to take more time, so that's okay.
I think for me, the strength in regards to fitness is actually going to the gym by myself. And going into quote unquote what only the men were or whatever, and picking up a weight or taking up space, sitting at a bench and, literally I've been, doing this for a little while, and then the other day I literally just even saying, "Are you using this machine?" That was like huge for me. Yeah.
I
So
know.
even so that is a ginormous strength, to just being able to walk into the gym and not that it's bad, but go straight to the, treadmill and that's it. So that's been
So
cool.
good. So good. And I feel like within that strength in itself, there's so many other little or big strengths, like being willing to push through the discomfort, right? Like that is huge. I remember at the beginning when I was like, hey, please record your set. You're like, I don't want to bring a phone out and record, or like, I don't want to do this exercise because it's right in the middle of the gym or whatever. And now you're just like, all right, here we are. All right, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that one.
I'll go next. Consistency. For when it comes to working out, I definitely have that drive to always work out. Think it's not hard for me anymore. Waking up early, going to the gym, working out, like it's easy. I do though have less of a drive when I don't have someone to meet with. And I know that, but I still get it done. I just maybe don't push myself quite as hard when you were not around, but I still have that good consistency when it comes to working out.
Yes, I agree. I agree. That is so great. And you've been so consistent for so long. So it's been fun to see. Thank you for sharing. So fun, Michelle. So Michelle owns a mask company. So if you see the mask in the background, that's what that is. I love it. I know. So for people that don't know you, Michelle, they're probably like, oh my gosh, what is that? So fun. Did anyone else want to share some of their strengths?
Showing up when I don't feel like it, I think, is like a big one.
Yeah.
Especially before I got my sleep in order, and like I'd be like, hey Angel, running on 4.5 hours, like hella like deadpan, like Kourtney Kardashian voice, like zero enthusiasm. And then I think I turned that into being like, okay, well, how can I prioritize getting more sleep so I can be excited to show up? And then I think just being able to reframe like this is more of an investment versus like I only used to view going to the gym as like sacrificial. Like I'd be like, I don't want to be here. I could be anywhere else. Like it took me time to drive here. I'm spending money to be here. And now I'm like, I spend money on all this other shit. I should be able to spend money on like taking care of myself and like filling my own cup. And so I think just like that reframe has been a really big strength.
Oh, 100%. I think being even willing to choose to reframe is huge. And yes, the reframe, the showing up, all the things, and then how that showing up leads to other really great awareness and prioritization of other areas. So good. It just trickles in so many areas. So thank you for sharing. And then Monica, I know you're multitasking. If you want to share your strengths, unmute. If not, no worries.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking next month in February, it's going to be 1 year since I dislocated my shoulder. I had my injury.
That's
So I'm thinking like how you mentioned, a strength would be, coming back after that injury. It's been slow and I'm still very protective of it. I'm not throwing around this crazy weights over my head, but my strength has improved. I couldn't even lift a 5 pound like overhead to do like a press. And now I'm, I can do 15 to 20. So, I think that's kind of big, even though I know it's going to take a little bit longer, but still I thought that was pretty cool. I just realized that.
Give me a second. iPad. Okay. Can someone say something really quick so I can see if I can hear you? No,
Hello?
Brittany.
Hello?
Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to. Oh, you can't hear me. Hold on. What?
I can hear you. We can
Oh,
hear
you can?
you. I can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I was like, oh no, Brittany's AirPods are connecting. And I was like, no. Okay, Monica, I heard absolutely everything you said. Thank you so much. That is crazy that it's been a year. That's so crazy, because I remember that you were just so nervous to come back.
I know.
For so many reasons, valid. But girl, from that to going into a successful cut, all the things, there's so many wins. So super proud of you. All right. Let me know if y'all, okay, I think y'all can hear me. You'll have to like type in the chat if you can't hear me, because I don't know if it's still connecting. All right, now that we finally went over everything else, I'm like so worried about you guys not hearing me, but I think you can. Okay, now we can actually work on goal setting. And I know many of you have already sent me your goals, but this is just for us to kind of talk through them, make sure that we have them written out. I know sending them to me is a great form of accountability. Obviously, I'm going to plug these things into your program specifically with the habits and the goals, etc. But I want y'all to take accountability on how y'all are going to track your progress as well. And I know with the app, we'll be able to track whether it is eating our veggies on a daily basis, whether it's doing daily check-ins, weigh-ins, or whether it's logging your macros, whatever your habits and goals are, these are going to be completely unique to you. So I think that's really exciting. But so what are your goals? And when I say that, we're going to talk mindset, movement, nutrition, recovery. And these are things that y'all have already sent me. In the workbook, I broke it down for each section as well. So with that goal, let's say your goal is to, so now we get to think like, what was that overall thing that you wanted? You want to look strong, right? So what is a movement goal that you can do to look strong, right? To be in alignment with that. So I know for many of us, it's whether training 3 to 4 times a week, whether it's hitting the 150 grams of protein, whether it's getting the 7 to 8 hours of sleep. These are all goals, potential goals. Let's call them my goals. And then from there, a mindset goal would be getting myself in a high vibration early in the morning so that I'm not dreading the rest of the day or moving slow, etc. So with that goal, we get to choose the habit. What is the habit with 150 grams of protein that I can be doing? I can meal prep on Sundays, right? Or I can log my food daily. So then what would I need to do to ensure that I am doing that? Maybe put an alarm in my phone. I'm someone that uses a paper planner so that I can write down every day. I wrote down macros, 12K steps, macros, 12K steps, and I check it off. I look at it about 2-3 times a day to make sure that I am focused and I know what I'm working on. And then how are you tracking your progress? I'm logging it in my app. If yours is less something that doesn't, like, for example, Angie, I know right now we're gonna do more mindful eating, right? Maybe it's just eating 3 meals a day, or eating till you're full, or 80% fullness, whatever those goals are. Something that's still tangible that you can kind of track for yourself that maybe isn't as what is the word? Yeah, you could just choose whether it's macros, more mindful eating, eating the veggies, having protein, whatever that looks like. So someone unmute themselves, let me know you can hear me, and share your goals. If not, oh, I clicked it and I didn't mean to.
One of my goals is definitely around protein. I am like just like not someone that craves most proteins, and I think it's been hard to kind of like reframe the idea that I need to be like excited about whatever it is that I'm eating, or like craving whatever it is that I'm eating. And so like if it's not seafood, I could easily go an entire day and have like 10 grams of protein and I would never even notice.
Got it.
And so I think it was a big deal to start hitting 100 grams a day, but like I know for what I'm doing and also for like my weight and where I'm trying to be, like I really should never have a day where I'm not getting at least 150 grams of protein. So I think trying to figure out like where do I get those additional 50 grams from when I'm not like a shake girl, and like ways to do it in a way that's like healthy, but like also that I'm not like grossed out by. So
Okay.
that will be a challenge, but that's a goal. And then I think letting you know ahead of time, like, oh hey Angel, like this is my goal for my 34th year of life, and like this is where I'm trying to be by the time I turn 35 was like a big step, because like I know once I say it to you, then like we will be doing work to make it happen. Just like greater accountability, and then like having our weekly check-ins where it's like you're like, okay, Kristen, like look at these macros, blah blah blah. Like I think it'll be the most checking in we've ever done. So
Yeah.
that'll be good.
Yeah, I am super excited for your very like in detail game plan for this year 34. That is so exciting. I love that. I think it's so good whenever we have kind of a start and end date to certain like I don't even want to call it what's the word I'm trying to use? Yeah, just very specific goals. So I'm really excited. It adds more motivation. It has an end date. We know what we're working towards, and there's just more motivation tied to it. And I think that's always fun. So awesome. Someone else want to share one of their goals they want to work on and what habits they need to implement?
Well, like I told you, I want to do more mindful eating
Yes.
because I have a lot of food noise, and not like bad food noise. Like it's not about like, oh, I don't want chocolate. It's like you're not getting enough. You know, like that
Okay. Yeah.
stresses me out consistently. But I think I just want to, I don't, right now that you said, now I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to track it? But I think I know for the most part, like obviously I'll choose cottage cheese, chicken, like, you know, but I do want to do more mindful eating because
Good.
I've noticed that, again, the worrying of, did I get enough? Did I do this enough? Like that's not putting my body in the right state where I want my goals to be.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
For sure. And so like even for tracking your progress, do you think something like, did I eat 3 meals today sounds okay? Or is that still
I think
something that okay.
I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. And I think I'm just gonna have to be honest and be like, okay, did you have veggies? Did you, although it's mindful, that I have to be honest with the what I am having. I can't just be like 3 meals of, and I mean like pasta and Alfredo, you know what I mean? Like it has to
Sure.
be obviously, when I say mindful eating, not pass, but you know, just
Yeah,
nutrient dense foods
for sure.
without.
And I feel like you already have that awareness and you almost won't let yourself do it any other way, but just make sure that we're choosing mindful, but then make sure that it stays mindful and it doesn't go back into like, okay, it was mindful, but I didn't have veggies, so it wasn't good, you know? So like still
Yeah.
keep it in that. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that's going to be really great. And like you mentioned, a week on vacation, a week plus on vacation and enjoying good foods and all the things allowed you to say like, hey, this does work for me. So that's good.
Yeah.
I love that. Michelle, do you want to share one of your goals that you're going to work on?
Sorry, I'm trying to hang a shelf.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, well, nutrition, I definitely I want to stop snacking so much. Of this last 2 weeks has been a lot of snacking, and I definitely just need to stop buying little, I guess because the holidays there's lots of stuff around.
For sure.
But just making sure that stuff's not in the house. You know, like don't buy
Okay.
snacks and don't have these things lying around because it's like I don't want to eat them, but when they're sitting there and I'm kind of hungry, I just grab it.
For sure.
So just eliminating those things, and another getting desserts to just the weekend, like one serving on Saturday and Sunday, and stop eating the stuff on the weekdays.
Okay. Sounds good. So then for your goal, I know you'd mentioned a lot of things you don't want. So then what does that look like? What is the goal there? So I know you mentioned a dessert goal of just the weekend days. Is that what we'll focus on, or?
Yeah, and more greens, so more
Okay.
salads, which actually I have been doing. So
Good.
I'm already getting there.
Nice. If you're already on.
Yeah, but just keep it up, I suppose.
Okay. Sounds good. And Monica, do you want to share a goal that you want to work on and what habits that need to be implemented there? I crack up with the horns guy in the background.
Yeah, so I think goal again, it's going to be strength and it's going to be movement. So whatever I can to do that, I'm going to have to just try. Like right now, my goal would be 3 days a week strength training. And that might not be a lot, but it's a lot for me as far as right now with like transitioning in this whole like job and kids. So I'm really going to shoot for it. 2 to 3, and then on the other days that I'm not working out, at least like I mentioned earlier, just walk or get some kind of like
That's
movement in.
awesome. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I want you to think of like, how can you plan those in ahead of time? I know that sometimes schedule is unpredictable, but think of, okay, let me for sure, I already know I'm going to group class on Tuesday. So what if I do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday? And obviously if you miss Thursday, now you have at least a couple other days or whatever that looks like, but maybe
Right.
scheduling those in. What does that
Right.
look like? Even if it means getting up a little bit earlier on a weekday or a weekend, etc. So, but sounds good. 3 is honestly a great day, and I don't want you to judge yourself thinking that it's less than. It is not. I currently am working out 4 days a week, and this week I might even be 3 days, and last week was 3 days, and we can still do all the things with 3 days a week. So please don't judge yourself on that being less than. It is not. It is totally sufficient. I'm going to click to the next one here, and now this is important and interesting. So this is, what thoughts do you get to stop entertaining to get these things done, right? So most of the time, it's not that we don't know what to do. Many times it's our thoughts on what we need to do that hold us back, whether it's the overthinking, the lack of preparation, the procrastination, or the excuses on why we can't. So this is where we get a little bit more tough love, okay? We've been having a good time being nice and sweet, but I think we just get to be really honest with ourselves. And again, if you are writing things down, or if you can choose some time to reflect on this and to literally write down the thoughts that don't serve you, the thoughts on like, let's say Monica, only just because you last shared this, I'm only working out 3 times a week, or my goal is to work out 3 times a week, even if that's not enough, right? Like that thought in itself already has a connotation that it's less than something, right? And maybe you don't think that, maybe that's my interpretation. I'm just using that as an example. I can use another example, sorry. But does that make sense? Like many, like Kristen, I think something that you mentioned, I said I was going to use my example and then I pull you guys, sorry. Anyways, Kristen, you mentioned not being a morning girl, but you said, you get your workouts in the morning when they're scheduled with me. How can you still make that happen, right? And maybe it's not entertaining the thought that you're not a morning girl. Maybe you're 34. You don't have to say you are a morning girl. You can maybe just not say that you're not a morning girl, right? Or that you prioritize your movement in the morning. That doesn't mean you're in a peppy, happy place. I'm definitely not. So I totally hear that. So what are some of those thoughts that we can work on to just choose to whether, and I don't even want to say eliminate, because that's not honest or realistic. Like we're not going to eliminate these thoughts, but how we can choose to change what we think about them. So it's a little bit of a different question. So when y'all have an answer, you have a thought that you've kind of been telling yourself that you're like, you know what, I tell myself this, but it really doesn't even, like one of my thoughts now that I'm thinking, now that I can actually think my thoughts, is I normally self-sabotage when I'm close to the end of a goal, like when I'm close to the finish line. And like, that doesn't, why am I entertaining that? Like why that doesn't, I don't get to prove myself right in that thought. But if I continue to tell myself that over and over, and every day that I get closer to that goal, I'm probably going to show up that way. Right. Or if like, oh, I'm such a snacker. And when I'm high stress, I always snack. Right. Then what are we going to do? We're going to snack when we're high stress, and we're going to buy the snacks, and we're going to eat the things around the house when we know that's not in alignment with our goals, different things like that. So it's important to know what those thoughts are and how often we're choosing to repeat them to ourselves. Right. And then what we choose to act at that. So this next part is going to be going over those thoughts and how we can actually choose to shift certain things. So does anyone want to share a thought that they are no longer going to entertain so they can get their goals done, get closer to their goals, etc.?
For me, is like I don't like veggies. Yes, I'm not a veggie girl, but I will eat zucchini, cucumber, jicama. Like, I may not jump into a bowl of broccoli, but there are things that I can eat that I'm fine with, so those are what I'm going to focus on and buy, the things I will eat.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And like you mentioned, so I know you said I'm not a veggie girl and I don't like veggies, but there are veggies on the list. So technically that statement or
Yes,
that thought isn't even
that's what I
true,
meant.
right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like that's
Yeah.
usually my go-to. I don't like veggies, but that's not true. Like, you know,
Right.
I just may not like what most
Certain,
people.
right. And
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that one. I think that's a really great example. And I think we can relate. Kristen, I'm gonna pick on you. What do you think's one that, what's a thought? What's a thought? What's one of your thoughts?
Sorry, I was across the room, still listening.
Oh, no problem.
I would say I need to stop entertaining the idea that those close to me are going to understand what I'm doing. Like,
a good one.
Or that it's like necessary for them to understand in order for me to stay committed.
That is so good. And I feel like that can hit a lot of people in general, just because, yeah, that's so good. I love that. I love that. Because they might not ever come around, and that shouldn't mean that you can't get to what you want to get done, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's I don't know what it is, but I like always want people to grow with me. And I'm like, oh, if they're not growing with me, I need to like stay back here so they can catch up. Like, no, we don't. They may never catch up and they may stay there, and we get to either choose to love them where they're at or let them go, you know? So, love it. How about you, Michelle? What is a thought that you can stop entertaining to get your goals done?
If there's a party or I'm eating out or going out, that like I'm just gonna eat bad. Because I know you can choose to eat well even if you're going
Right.
out. Or if you're going to a party, like you don't have to
Right.
give in to all the temptations. Like usually if something like that is coming up, I just okay, well today's just a bad day, so it's I'll eat whatever I want. Instead of going in thinking, okay, let's make some smart decisions and not give in to that thought and
Yeah. No, that's a great one. That's a really, really good one. And that's so true. Sometimes we think like, oh, well, I have a party, so it just is what it is. Or like this weekend, this month, I have party after party. It's just going to be a bad month. Like, not really, right? We can, like you said, we can make choices. We can eat food before so that when we show up, we're not ravenously starving and just eat all the things, right? And self-control is lower. We can show up and be mindful and intentional with what we choose to eat. I love that. That's good. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Monica? You want to share a thought that you no longer want to entertain?
Yeah, I think just going off of the example that I gave and then that you also use with the workouts, not feeling bad or like getting upset at myself because I didn't work out the 3 times or the 2 times, but
Right.
Trying to focus on like, well, I did, go with the girls on a walk, or we went to the mall, walked around. So there was some movement. So I think trying to just get that, that negative, like you didn't lift heavy this week, or you didn't lift your 3 times, but I did this. So I think that's probably one of the things I'm going to try and do.
Oh, good. I love that. I love that. Something that I heard from what was the life coach school calls that I've been on, she called it the mental drama, right? Someone was sharing their stuff and she goes, you're creating a lot of mental drama for yourself, right? And we think about like, we don't want to walk into a room where there's all this drama happening, right? And same thing for ourselves. Like we don't need to go into our head and create more drama for ourselves, right?
Yes,
So whether
totally.
we call that overthinking or all the things, right? So I love it. Thank you for sharing that. All right, this next part, I don't remember what I chose. Yeah, I did. All right, so this next part's a tough love, right? So obviously you got a handful of versions of me when you're training with me. We have more of the super compassionate, like, hey, I hear you, it happens, it's okay. But then we also need some tough love. And I think that's walking into 2024, we're gonna continue to find a good balance of how I can coach y'all with the tough love that you need to get to the goals, but 2, how you can have some gentle, tough love with yourself on certain conversations. So I'm just going to read it from the page. Do the damn thing you keep putting off. You don't always have to be motivated or even want to work out, but you still get to do it for your future you. You don't have to blame the people you're around or the kids or the spouse or your lack of time. We get to take ownership over our thoughts that lead to our actions. And that's pretty much what we just talked about, right? And I think that's important to have. This next one is going to be like tough love with compassion. And I think that's going to be important because sometimes I feel that we don't know some people choose the extreme, like tough love, like, oh my gosh, you did so horribly because you didn't do X, Y, and Z. And like, I don't even know if that's even loving anymore, right? Like that's almost like you're bullying yourself. So tough love is more here. Compassionate is just like you just ate all the things at the party, or like the far end of compassion, let's say even further than that. It's like you ate all the things at the party, like, oh, it's okay, body positivity, it is what it is. Like calories don't count on the weekends, whatever, like super toxic positivity stuff you want to think. And then the compassion is going to be somewhere around here where it's like, hey, yeah, we did overeat, but did we have a good time with the family? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's get over it. We had a good time. Yes, maybe the scale is up a couple pounds if anybody watched my story the other day sharing a little bit about that. But it's like, okay, cool. We get on with it, we move on, we take ownership, and now what can we do from there? So it's trying to like mesh these two, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this next slide, which is, oh, actually not this slide. Well, let me go this way and then I'll come back to this one. Tough love with compassion. So that's why I always ask y'all about our recovery number. So again, as we all know, recovery is sleep, stress, and nutrition. Okay. And knowing how to rate or being intentional and mindful and aware of how to rate those from a scale of 1 to 10. Again, 1 meaning not good, need some love. 10 meaning the best quality sleep, eating well. And notice how I said eating well. It doesn't say hitting 150 grams of protein. It doesn't say having veggies at every meal. It doesn't say eating aesthetically pleasing looking food. Like, no, eating well. And then stress is low. And I want to make sure I make this clear that these are your subjective numbers. And I ask you, I'm not asking you for someone else's grading of you. I'm asking you for your grading of you. And whether that is a more tough love or more compassionate, I'm going to better get to understand you as I get to continually see, one, the factual data that's going to allow me to see like, okay, whether you're checking out on your app, like, hey, I did eat the 3 meals. Yes, I did hit the 10,000 steps, or I did get the 8 hours of sleep that I'm working on. And that'll just allow me to better get an understanding of what your numbers mean. Because when I see you and we do train, or even when you go to the gym on your own, or you are going to go for the walk or do the homework at home, I want y'all to ask yourself these questions every single time. Like, I want it to be so ingrained in y'all so that when you start to give yourself the more like bullying type of tough love, you get to bring yourself back and center yourself and be like, okay, hold on. This isn't helpful. Like, let me go back. What's my recovery number? Okay, I slept like shit. Okay, let me give myself a 4 for sleep. Okay, my nutrition. Well, I ate 3 meals. Awesome. So I can give myself a 9. But my stress has been just super high. There's so much going on. So I'm going to put stress at, let's say, a 4. Okay, now that I think about it, my recovery number is really just about a 6 or a. So that makes sense why this weight feels so much heavier. That makes sense why I'm not motivated to do this. That makes sense why my self-talk is kind of negative right now, right? And you get to really like learn how to ground yourself and have these like self-coaching moments to figure out like what is working for me, what is not, how can I be compassionate with myself, and when is tough love necessary, when is compassion necessary, right? So I hope that part was helpful. And I know that y'all all train with me one-on-one and in group. So I know we have a lot of this conversation all the time, but I really wanted to put this on a slide. So for those that don't, or for those that I need to send a reminder to, I might get just this snippet and sent out to them. But I just think it's a good reminder. So anything y'all want to share on that? This next part is going to be teaching, and I am going to share a new thing called the model. And I know we already just went over the hour. I know I said it's a 60 to 75-minute call. If y'all have to step out, I totally understand. We are almost done. I don't know exactly what slide I'm on. I'm trying to see over here, but we have like 3 more slides, I would say. Okay, just to give y'all a heads up. But anything that is helpful, where do you guys tend to normally lean? Are you someone that speaks to yourself with compassion? Are we too like lenient with ourselves? Are we more on the like bullying end to where we're like, oh, that's not even helpful at this point? Or are we pretty good with the tough love with compassion? Where are you at? Let me actually get y'all to kind of tell me what your self-talk kind of looks like.
I think for me, it's bullying, but not necessarily like, I'm going to say mean bullying because like when I wasn't eating, when I was really stressed right before I left, and my workouts would not be that great, I would be, instead of saying like, hey, maybe next time you should eat, it would be like, you know better. Like it would be like I'm trying to be a little bit better on that, but I like the concept of self-compassion is there.
Okay.
And I try to tell myself like afterwards, but the initial is like, God damn it, like you know better. Like I tend to start off with bullying and then kind of eventually get to compassion, but my go-to for myself
Okay.
is bully.
And that is totally okay. I think even if you know that you're starting there and you can get yourself to compassion is good. Like obviously, maybe at some point, maybe you're starting with tough love and going to compassion, having that beautiful blend, sure. But that is still a big win. I'm sure there maybe was a time in your life where it was just strictly 100% bullying, right? And maybe even mean bullying, right? So that is all still a win. So I hope you celebrate that growth. I know we've talked about it before, so I know you're doing great. So thank you for sharing that one. How about you, Kristen? What's your self-talk sound like on my scale that I just made?
I think I'm right about in the middle. I think that there was a period of time where, like right before starting to train with you, I think I actually was like giving myself like too much leeway.
Okay.
And I think that there is like such a fine line between being like compassionate with yourself and then like not maybe having like as much accountability as you should.
Yeah.
And I think that like I was riding that wave and like it wasn't good. Like I was just like, okay, like if this is where I am right now, like it's fine that I don't really feel like working out at all, or like I'm not going to like tend to myself or fill my own cup. And now I think I'm somewhere where I'm like, okay, like, yeah, Kristen, like you need to be honest about like why this workout was hard for you today. Like there have been times where I've been like, Angel, I overdid it drinking last night, and like that's probably why my stomach is cramping up during this particular exercise, um, or like, oh wow, like maybe I should have ate more than like 50 grams of protein yesterday, and like I wouldn't be dying during this morning session. So, um, I think that now I'm like not talking negatively to myself, but I'm also not just like giving myself passes either. Um,
Cool.
and then I think that the one area where I could still stand to improve is like acknowledging when I am getting some wins in, because I like words of affirmation just like aren't my preferred love language. And so I also don't give them to myself a lot either. So I think it's like I need to be intentional about being like, okay, Kristen, like you did a good job with X, Y, or Z this week, versus just only focusing on like what needs to be like improved.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That might be something I can help plug in for you to give yourself a compliment at the end of the week, right? Or the words of affirmation. I like that. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I've definitely been in the place where I've been like too lenient, and that's it's so tough to play, but there's certain seasons of life where we need that, and there's certain seasons of life where we're like, okay, that was good, but now I'm ready. Right. Awesome. Let me hear Michelle. What's your self-talk like?
I don't know. I may be too lenient at
Okay.
times. Unless I'm in a really bad place, then I do the extreme to where
Okay.
I'm really hard on myself. But that's only if like really bad stuff's happening elsewhere. And like normal me, maybe too lenient or just normal. I don't
Okay.
think I'm really too hard on myself. I don't think.
Okay. Okay. And that's good to know. And I just think it's awesome to know where we're at. So then we can kind of find that like, okay, where can I get, what self-talk do I need to get me to my goals that I've been setting, you know? So I think that's good. It's good to know. Thanks for sharing. And Monica, how about you? What's your self-talk sound like right now?
I think it varies depending on the day, to be honest with you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, some days you feel better, sometimes you don't, or, I feel like, oh, I don't look good in this outfit today, or I don't, whatever the case may be. So I think it's like a daily, it kind of like fluctuates.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm outwardly like vocal with it, like my husband will be in the room like, oh my gosh, like this, my jeans don't fit. And he's like very conscious, and he does actually a really good job with countering the negative, like publicly saying like, oh, this doesn't look good at me. It's more like, oh my gosh, like, what are you talking about? Like, you look great. Like, he's always like countering that. So that does help a lot, because then I'm kind of like, yeah, you're right. It's like, you have 4 kids. What are you talking about? It's like, you look good. So it's kind of like a day to day, it's always like depending how I feel. So, but that's kind of how it's more, he actually also helps with that negative talk and like changing the narrative with that.
That is so good. That's so good. And something that for any of us, I feel like this is just common in general, that our self-talk is may change day to day or just when situations and stuff. I'd be curious to know, like, and you guys can write on this, etc. But like, what is, when your self-talk is more positive, what is going on? What is that positive self-talk, like success routine, look like? Like, did you get enough sleep? Are you feeling good about the things, etc.? What does that look like? And then when your self-talk's more negative, what are things that got you to that place, right? So then we can kind of figure out how to get more in that middle ground and more this way. So for me, like, my things that keep me, how I call it, is high vibe lately. That's just what works for me. Is that if I wake up in the morning and I play my playlist to get grounded, I do my meditation, I do my journaling. It's a lot of steps for me. It might not be as many for y'all, or whatever that looks like. And then getting in some movement or dancing and singing in the morning, there's like almost an 80 to 95% chance my self-talk is gonna be like too positive. I'm just kidding. And y'all can see it on social media. But I love to be in that place. And you get to figure out what those routines are for you. Maybe it is the main character playlist. Maybe it is the meditation. Maybe it's the walk outside. Maybe it's enjoying your morning coffee and like having a slow morning, cuddling with your kids or your pets, whatever. I don't know. Figure that out for yourself and figure out how you can show up with that a more positive self-talk for yourself. So anyways, that's just something I thought of. But next slide. Okay, so this is more, we're just chit-chatting a little bit on some of my favorite books to kind of go into this. I absolutely love Atomic Habits. I know it's just it's a super common book. Atomic Habits, Compound Effect, shorter, still very similar concept. If you're someone that's been reading self-help and you love like really inspirational like stories and stuff, the 5 a.m. Club, I'm a big fan. But I think something that's important for me to reiterate, and I feel like we know, but I think it's good to hear, is that success and adherence does not mean or require perfection. I feel like so many times we hold ourselves back because we think things need to be perfect. And I think we get to remember that B- effort is still better than no effort at all, right? This is again going over that self-talk of, oh, well, I can't get the full workout in, so why even do it? Or like, I'm already at the party, I might as well eat all the things and just have a bad food day, whatever. Whatever that looks like. No, B- effort. Yeah, sure, you had the slice of cake at the place, but you also had like 2 chicken drums or whatever, chicken legs, and now you have at least 30 grams of protein plus dessert. Cool. That is B- effort. That is a win versus just having all the dessert, right? Or like Monica's been saying, instead of getting in the full lift, still getting your steps in, whatever that looks like. So I think that is so important for us to remember. And if we continue to chase perfection, that we're just really going to create some mental drama for ourselves, for us to get really frustrated with how things aren't perfect yet and how they should be, because we've been in this journey so long. Get on, do not entertain that. Please do not entertain that. Okay. It is not worth it. And you are going to be so impressed with how your B- effort, or eventually your A+ effort, or some of your D+ effort is still going to get you progress. It's still going to get you the results you want. Maybe it will take longer, probably, but that is okay. But you're still moving in the right direction. Does that make sense? So the quote on here, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Again, going back to how do we want to feel, act, and be? Yeah. At the end of this quarter, no single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. James Clear. It's good. Let me see what else I got for y'all. All right, this is the part where we get to write down our systems and our routines that you need to implement to increase your chances of adherence. Again, you can write out all the things, you can do all the journaling, we could do all the things. That does not guarantee success. Nothing guarantees success, but we can increase our chances the more that we plan ahead, the more that we understand what held us back in the past, the more that we put things in our calendar to actually do our best to guarantee that things can get done. So I would love for you, again, you see the little icon to write things out. Write out at least three systems or routines that can support you to feel more in control of your results. So I'm going to give an example, but go ahead and think of yours and at least give me 3. So goal, I want to hit my protein goal of 120 grams of protein per day. Habit would be to meal prep on Sundays. Routine. So again, I stretch this routine out to be 3-day things. It could all be in one day. I'm just trying to give things more tangible, whatever works for you. Okay. Routine. Friday, start scrolling on Pinterest to make grocery lists. Thinking scrolling on Pinterest to figure out which foods you want, right? If you're someone that I don't care eating the same thing every week. If y'all don't like that, Pinterest is great. High protein, whatever meals. Saturday, go grocery shopping in the evening, morning, whatever, choose whatever time works for you, put it in your calendar. Sunday, allocate 1 to 2 hours to meal prep. Again, this is an example, make it yours. But today I would love for y'all to put it in your planner or calendar so that you can make things happen, so that we're not going into one more week on how we could have planned better. Today is Sunday. I think it's a great day to do that. So with that being said, I am going to let y'all share what is one of your systems or routines that you can implement. And a little fun thing, call it a fun name. Like I stole this one from Angie, but the morning magic routine, obsessed. I think I do it because I love that it's my magic mornings or my morning magic, whatever. I do it more because of the name, and I'm just like feel like a freaking unicorn. Another one that I have, my high vibe thing, which is my lift, laugh, dance, and sing. Those are just things that make me feel good. My last one is like my success routines or my success routines. Yeah, my success routine and what things that make me feel good on a daily basis. If I get 8 hours of sleep, if I eat my protein, and if I do my high vibe routine. So anyways, who wants to share theirs first? I'm so fidgety when I wait for you all to share. So I drink water.
I think one of mine around sleep is getting 7 to 8 hours. Something that makes that easier to do is being sure that I'm like off my phone or off screens by midnight. And if I am off my phone or screens by midnight, I'm usually asleep within like half an hour of that. And so
Nice.
because I start my days with you, it's like if I can just stay asleep for the 7 hours, or even wake up and sometimes go back to sleep if I don't immediately look at my phone when I wake up, like that's something that's been really helpful for me. And so I've been plugging my phone in further away from my bed so there isn't like the temptation to scroll while in bed.
Ooh, that's so good. I love it. I love it. So then do you have like a set bedtime, or do you use your alarm to kind of calculate getting those 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours, or what does that look like?
I use my alarm. I feel like most of my days roughly start around the same
Cool.
time with like personal training with you, or my first meeting of the day will be at that same time if I'm not training with you. And so I know that like as long as I'm in bed and asleep by 1 a.m., I can like guarantee get 7 to 8 hours.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, sweet. That's so good. I actually just put, so I wake up at 5 a.m. So I just put in my calendar, prioritize sleep, and that is an hour block of 8:30 to 9:30. So if I'm in bed by 9:30, I can get 7 hours. So that's mine. That's what that looks like. And I get an alarm on my phone 10 minutes before 8:30. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I can get the last bit of whatever I need to, wash my face. So I know I have that hour like buffer time, but by 9:30, goal is to be like in bed reading my book type vibe. So thanks. That was a good one. How about you, Michelle? What is a routine or system that can support you in your goals?
What you were saying earlier actually really stuck with me about the meal planning.
Okay.
Sundays are supposed to be my day to do that, and
Okay.
often I don't. But I think I just need to, usually the mornings are free, so I needed to start putting time aside in the mornings for that.
Okay.
Guarantee that I get it done.
Awesome. I think that's great. I think that's great. Yeah, put it in your calendar. Act like it's an appointment with me. You're always there with in our session, so that's good. And then you just get it done early in the morning, and that's freaking great. Cool. I like it. I like it. How about you, Angie? What's a system or routine that you can implement or continue?
I think for me, the one that I've liked is my workout. Like
Nice.
I've already like the days I don't see you, like it's my lunch hour at work. So it's like if I don't, it's like there's no, it's a non-negotiable. Like this is the time I go because I know me. So if I were to say, oh, I'm not gonna do it at lunch, I'm gonna do it after work, it's less likely, I'm more
Sure.
tired, or I haven't prepped dinner. So it's like that's my time to go. So I think I like the fact that it's a lack of better word, an appointment that I have.
Yeah.
So it's like a non-negotiable
Oh, I love
with
it.
myself.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that is super great. And do you have that? Are you someone that like writes it in your calendar, or do you put it in your planner, or you just kind of, you already know, like it's in your.
I know because I go during
Cool.
like the lunch hour time,
Okay.
so I can go anywhere between 10:30 and 1:30. And the reason I
Okay.
do that is in case I get a work call, then I can just
Yeah.
be like, I'm in early lunch, I'm taking a late lunch.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You got a nice,
Yeah.
nice chunk of time. Cool. I love that. Thank you. How about you, Monica? What is a system or routine that you can implement?
I think it's kind of like an ongoing daily juggling act with nutrition and like movement and fitness, things like that. Because I know if like, let's say for example, I can't get one of those 2 or 3 that I want to focus on in for the day, then I'll make sure the other one is hit. Like if I don't get my steps in and I don't get a workout, then I'll aim for like the 130 to 150 of protein. Like for me, it's kind of like balancing. Well, if I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. So it's kind of, it's a chaotic system maybe, but it's kind of like what I've been trying to focus on as well. You know, making sure I hit some kind of goal health-wise to get me, you know, for my growth movement, etc.
No, for sure. And that's totally great. And mind you, that might look like that right now in this season, but all this effort that you're doing right now, even if it looks or feels chaotic right now, like it's still going to get you to a place. And later when you look back, you're going to be like, wow, before it was either or. Now I've expanded my capacity and I can do this, and now I've added in 12K steps or whatever the case may be. But that's cool. I'm excited for us to go back and hear this or look at this and be like, oh, well, it used to be chaotic and now I have it down, or whatever that looks like. Or maybe it just stays chaotic, but you still keep getting amazing results, and that's good. All works. It all still works. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing. Let me see. So this last one is a little different, and obviously you can take your own time with this, but I think there's something big about writing a letter to yourself for you to come back and read, because I just think it's so cool. And I remember Brittany said that they did that, or I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. Maybe it was a movie. Anyways, I'm going to just talk about this. Write a letter, write a letter of how proud you are of yourself for following through with this growth game plan. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a whole like love letter type thing. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be something in your notes app, whatever. But hey, Angel, I am so proud of you for being super consistent this month, these first 3 months of the year. You really set the tone for the year, whatever. This is how mine's probably gonna sound, right? You've totally been the most confident, consistent version of yourself. I'm really proud of how you shifted your self-talk from too lenient to really having that tough love and finding that balance with compassion, that you've quieted the mental drama and you're waking up, whatever. I'm making stuff up as I go. It is pretty accurate though. But anyways, so this one you don't necessarily have to share. Obviously, this is something that's more for you, but I hope you guys do take the time to at least even write out at least 3 sentences on how you want to feel at the end of the 3 months and just being proud of yourself, because I did hear a handful of us mention how we don't acknowledge our wins as often. And I think, or even how when we are acknowledging our wins, it doesn't sound. So think about the way you tell, most of you have kids on here except me and Kristen. But Kristen and I work with a lot of people. So think about the way you tell someone how proud you are of them, right? Like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you, your growth, you're this and that. And then think about the way you share that with yourself. Is it the same energy? Are you giving yourself the same energy that you would give a friend? Right? And I think that's something to acknowledge and to be aware of. And why are we worthy of less enthusiasm? Why do we deserve less hype? Why do we give ourselves that? So it's like, oh, well, you did all right, girl. Like, yeah, the pants fit good, but like, you still need to lose 5 more pounds. Like, no, like, girl, you haven't fit in these pants in a long ass time. I am so proud of you. You look freaking fine as hell. Like, that's the energy you need, you know? So again, Brooke Castillo has been like someone that I've been listening to. She's the Life Coach School podcast. And she talks about how every time she looks in the mirror, she gives herself a week. She goes, you need to flirt with yourself. She goes, you need to love your past self for showing up to getting you to where you currently are, but you also need to love your future self enough to show up today how you need to show up for that future self. And you get to talk to yourself. And you said like, and she'll even like run through a dialogue of like, hey girl, I'm so sorry that I didn't move this weekend, or I didn't eat as well. You know, like, you don't deserve that. I'll do better. And I'm setting up a routine. So next week we can have a really successful week. And like legit a conversation with herself. And I was like, oh, that was so intense. Like, but that's good. Like, why can't we give ourselves that same energy? And another thing that I thought of is like, okay, for Kristen and myself, we work with people, we don't have kids yet. Y'all have kids. Like, y'all would drop the world to give anything to your kid, right? To like show up to their practice, show up to their rehearsal, to like make sure they have the best food, the best care, the best whatever. Like, are you giving yourself that same energy? I guess that's what I want y'all to think about. So when you write this letter, give yourself all the enthusiasm, give yourself all the love, give yourself all the praise, all the hype, because you deserve it. And I feel like it might feel super awkward at first, and that's okay. But I know you'll have that in you to share that same type of energy with someone else probably, but I want you guys to develop that skill to share that with yourself as well. And I think that's really, really, really important. So yeah. Let me see what else I got here, because I do want to keep it right at the time. Yes, I am done. Okay, cool. So thank you for your time. Cheers to growth and goodness. I am gonna go ahead and close out this so I can actually see your guys' faces. Oh, let me see if I can do this correctly. Stop. Ah, cool. Thank y'all for being part of this. I hope it was helpful. I hope y'all took notes of some sort. Again, if you were busy doing things, I totally understand. I'm going to still send this out via email. And in that email, you already have the workbook so that you can write out things, or you can put this in your own workbook, or your own journal, etc. But yeah, if there's any last closing notes y'all want to share or anything, awesome. You're welcome to unmute yourself, but I want to keep it right on time. And that, I think, is, or maybe, no, I definitely went over actually. My bad. But thank you, Michelle, Angie, Monica, and Kristen for being on.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a great day. Toodles.
Bye.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay. And